Good evening, everyone. This is Pastor Anthony here with your Daily Excellence, and thank you guys so much for coming on this evening and joining us. And here in just a moment, I'm going to have Brother Jim from Earth Changes Channel. He's going to come on here, and we're going to have a discussion this evening about Dare to Prepare, and we're going to kind of talk to you guys about how to prepare for the things that are coming, things that are. It's not so much that they're coming. A lot of it's already here. And so we're going to be discussing those things. We're going to discuss topics about the jet stream, what to expect with this coming winter, how to prepare for climate change, earthquakes, peace being removed from the land, what to expect from that. And we're going to touch in with signs in the heavens. So a lot of different topics that are coming up this evening. And so we want you guys to be prepared, have your minds and your hearts open, have your spirits ready to receive what we're going to be discussing here on the channel. But before I bring Brother Jim on, if you guys could do me a huge favor, like, share, subscribe on the channel. Make sure you guys are following us as well over on Telegram. And I'm going to see if I can pull that up for everyone real quick. And this is over here at Daily Excellence Telegram channels. We have 3 channels, Daily Excellence News, Daily Excellence Chatroom, and Daily Excellence Prayer. If you have Telegram, you can go over and search those out. It'll come up, or we have links in our descriptions below. We also have the links on the website as well. And you can also check Brother Jim out over on his Telegram channels as well. He has a couple channels over there at Earth Changes Channel and Earth Changes Chat. You can also go over there, search those out, and you can add them there, or we have those links in the descriptions below. And I did update those links last night, and they do work. And so you guys can go over there and check those out. And of course, subscribe to Earth Changes YouTube channel as well, which that link has also been updated because I know some of you had commented over the weekend that the links were not working. And so those links have been updated last night, and everything should be working in the descriptions box as well. And so, of course, you can follow us on Oddsee, and you can follow us over on Brighteon. And we're also, let's see, try to pull this up for you guys, on Rumble as well. And so we're all over the place. And we once again thank you guys for coming on. And so with no further ado, I am going to turn around, and we have Brother Jim that's on the phone right now with us. And just to kind of give everybody, we have a little bit of a 1 to 2 second delay going on. And so just kind of bear with us as we muscle our way through this. But Brother Jim, he's here, he's online. And sir, go ahead and welcome everybody in.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad to be here with Brother Anthony. I think this is our 3rd preparedness video, and I'm just grateful that Daily Excellence is doing a great job. And God bless you, Anthony, and your subscribers.
Thank you, sir. And we appreciate you coming on and being a part of Daily Excellence. And, we always appreciate and love when Daily Excellence and Earth Changes Channel families can come together in one spot. I know it's something that we both personally enjoy, and it's also something that I know our subscribers also love being able to do. And so I'm glad to have you here. I know you're a busy guy with all the projects you got going on out there. And so we always appreciate when you're able to come on and be with us tonight.
Well, thank you, Anthony. I'm glad to be here. That's for sure. There's so much happening. It seems like every day it changes, every single day. And 1 hour, your reality can change. Your world can go upside down, it seems, with the earthquakes and wars and rumors of wars. So I'm very glad that we're doing, I think this is number 4, isn't it, Anthony?
Yeah, this is actually, I think, our 4th, maybe 5th video that we've done together, and so we've done quite a few of these.
Okay, sounds great. So what's on the agenda?
All right, so let's get into it. We kind of talked the other day, Brother Jim and I did together, and we're gonna let's get into the discussion of these jet streams and the winter to come. And I'm just gonna kind of set it up for us here. We the jet streams have been acting pretty weird this summer. We've got a very active monsoonal season. I know that Brother Jim has personally seen this over there where he's at. And we've seen some pretty odd weather here in the Great Lakes region. We've had a couple of good, strong cold fronts come through, but we've also had storms that have popped up with no system around coming, and they're coming from the wrong direction. Normally, our weather comes from the west, northwest, and these storms are coming straight from the east. And there were no low pressure systems, no frontal boundaries. There was actually a high pressure system over us, which, for those of you who don't know, when you have a high pressure system, that means you have sinking air coming to the surface. So that means you can't really get cloud formations or storms underneath a high pressure system. But it was happening here and coming from the wrong direction. We've seen floods in Dallas. We've seen floods in Kentucky. We've seen floods in Illinois. Just before we got started here, I was letting Brother Jim know we had floods in Utah last night. And so a lot of different things happening. And that's just here in the United States. We haven't even touched on what's going on globally. And of course, we have to discuss what's going to be happening this winter, because getting a lot of reports, Brother Jim, and I'm sure you are too, of things happening a lot earlier. I've had reports of the leaves changing colors or in the Tennessee Cumberland Plateau already. I know here locally the Canadian geese have already come down, and that's a lot earlier than normal. We've seen temperatures here in the 40s at night already. And matter of fact, it looks like we're going to hit 40s again next week. And I know that a lot of people have been, I think the persimmon trees that grow around the Ozarks, they're also coming in the season a lot earlier than normal, which is an indicative sign of a harsh winter. And so kind of laying that out there for you, Brother Jim, I'm going to let you take it here and kind of give some of your thoughts to what we got going on with our jet streams.
Yes, thank you, Anthony. We talked about this a few videos back, and you was absolutely correct. We're starting to see it now, and I think those videos that you spoke of the jet stream was approximately 6 months ago, something like that, and we're starting to witness it now. And it's just not here in America. It's flooding in Africa, Indonesia, Malaysia, China. I mean, this is like the day of Noah, to a certain point, of course. But these are the signs of the times, and I believe it's all connected to the weakening of the magnetosphere with the inbound planetary system that is approaching, because the earthquakes are completely off the charts. Of course, the sun is being affected by all of this. We had massive numbers of solar flares over the last week and a half. Most of them were C-class. I think there was 2 M-class solar flares. But eventually we're going to get hit with a X-class, Anthony, and that's one of my biggest concerns. I check on it every single morning. So everything has changed. And also, I believe in that video, me and you talked about the hurricane season will be in the fall, and I believe we're going to see it this year. What's your opinion on that with the hurricanes?
Yeah, the hurricanes has been pretty interesting, kind of an interesting topic this year, because we've actually, so far this season, we've seen a lot of inactivity, which, we did talk about that they really wouldn't ramp up until the fall. And so far, we've been on target with that. There's been some anomalies in the oceans, too, that have been a little unusual, and I think it has a lot to do with what's happening in the earth right now. And a couple of them is, one, the water temperatures coming off of Africa right now have actually been running several degrees below normal. And so what that means is the waters are cooler than what they should be off the coast of Africa. So typically storms will come off the Sahara. They get mixed up in that warm water off the coast of Africa, and that's how we get our hurricanes to form. And so that's been part of the reason why we haven't gotten any. However, on the flip side, if you come over here into the Caribbean and Mexico, Gulf of Mexico, and the Gulf Stream, temperatures are running way above average. It's hot, and they're getting hotter because we haven't had any hurricane activity to make it in those areas yet. And so the concern now is that when the westerlies start dropping, which I talked about in the video yesterday, that we're about to see those westerlies drop. I showed everybody the polar vortex and its growth. Once those westerlies drop, we're going to start seeing storm systems start ramping up in the Caribbean and the Gulf. And the fear is that once they get going, we're going to see some supersized hurricanes that are going to affect the Gulf Coast region and potentially the East Coast this year. And they could run pretty far inland too, because of the size and the strength of these storms. And so I'm not 100% sure if we're going to get a lot of activity off of Africa this year because of the water temperatures there, but we do have extremely hot water temperatures. Last temperature readings I saw coming out of the Gulf was temperatures were approaching near 90 degrees in the Gulf of Mexico, and that's really hot. That's bath water, so to speak. And so that's kind of my thoughts there with the upcoming hurricane season. We should be seeing that activity really any day. We should be seeing something pop up. So that's about what I got there on that one. You got anything you wanted to add into that before we move on to the winter?
Yes, before, we did that, back months ago about the jet streams, made a comment that we're going to witness the eye of the hurricane going all the way in to Kansas and Nebraska this year. I do believe that. I know that it has went in to Oklahoma before and the northern part of Texas, but this year I think the eye of the hurricanes are going to move to the north. And the other thing I've noticed, I hope this ain't changing the subject a little bit, millions of fish have died up off the coast of Germany and Finland, and it's unexplained. They analyzed the water. It didn't have any environmental chemicals or radiation for Fukushima, and I believe it's the Earth's crust and the heating up the salt water, creating humidity, creating what we call, a climate change. So I believe we're going to see big changes, and the forest fires are increasing this year because of the droughts in certain area, but a lot of it is the Earth's crust is heating up, and the Earth is expanding. We're under the 26,000-year cycle, and this is all being affected by the magnetosphere and the jet stream in the northern hemisphere. Nobody goes from west to east, and I have known the last couple of months the southern hemisphere has been going west to east, and normally it's supposed to go the opposite, east to west. So we're seeing a lot of change, and all of this was foretold in the biblical perspective that we would see these type of events. I call them signs of the times, actually.
Yeah, brother Jim, you're correct on that, and I think a lot of people are starting to notice the storm patterns are going the wrong way. And I think we're getting very close to seeing our jet stream systems begin to reverse, which is not the first time this has happened. Matter of fact, if you go back into history, you don't have to go too far back into history actually to see a time or a period where the jet streams did reverse. Matter of fact, some of our audience might actually have been alive during this period. But if you remember the Dust Bowl era, where the the whole center portion of the United States became pretty much a desert. Everything died off. We had a lot of weird weather during that time, and it's been told that the reason why that scenario had set up is because we saw a reversal in the jet stream in the northern hemisphere. And so the reason why I bring this up is because it gives you an idea of what conditions are going to be like in the United States as we see that reversal of the jet stream, because we've already done it before, except this time it's not going to be a temporary thing. This is going to be a long-lasting effect when it does happen. And so we do have an example in recent history of this happening. And, we'd also know, as Brother Jim had already stated, that these are the signs of the times. We were told that we were going to see distress of nations. We were going to see signs in the heavens and in the earth, which, by the way, when the Bible talks about heavens, it's talking about not just like, heaven itself, but, the heavens refer to the clouds in the skies. The heavens refer to things that are going on in outer space. The context of this is heavens, which is plural, meaning more than one heaven. And so it's what we see with our eye. It's also what we don't see as well. And so just wanted to kind of put that out there for context of what that particular meaning is when we start reading, Matthew 24, Luke 21, and getting into Revelations, and I think Daniel, the book of Daniel, and some of the prophecies in the Old Testament will allude to some of this as well. So let's transition over. Let's talk about the upcoming winter, Brother Jim, because we know, we've got some shortages that's happening. I reported on yesterday that here in the United States, natural gas prices have rose to 14-year highs this week. The natural gas prices in Europe are astronomical. I showed a graph where it doesn't even compare to our inflation increase here in the United States. It's off the charts. I don't see how people can afford this. We do know that we are looking to have a very cold and very deep winter this year that's in store. We've talked about the atmospheric warming events that we've experienced the last 2 winters continuing, which that normally brings the jet streams further south than they normally would go, which brings the deeper cold further south than they would normally go. We're already seeing that buildup of the polar vortex happening now. And we're seeing food shortages starting to take place again. We know that our diesel is being rerouted to support the military exercises and drills and tasks that are coming up. We know that the same thing is happening with natural gas. We know the same thing is happening with our foods and certain resources and things like that. And so, Brother Jim, what is your take on some of the things that we're going to be facing this coming up winter?
Well, of course, this is off, and I've been out here since 2013, and I'm at 7,500 feet. And just the other night, when it was raining, just a drizzle, it got down to 48 degrees. I had to turn the heat on, and I never experienced that before. So that's telling me, and the local ranchers are telling me, that we're going to see an extremely difficult winter. Here in my location, possibility of 16 to 20 inches of snow. And this is what the old timers are telling me. So it's possible that we're going to see 4 feet of snow in your region and up in the north as well as the northeast. And remember what happened back in the 70s? Snow. So this is very important what I'm about to tell everyone. Please store up as much food as you can, as much fuel for heat. The high cost of natural gas is fixing to accelerate, but so is propane. And just be prepared to stay in for a few days. you're not going to be able to drive your cars and go to work with 4 feet of snow. And the city or the county officials are going to have their heads turning and their heads full of the work that they have to do to clear these roads. And it may be a day or two. So be prepared that you're going to be stuck. Also, make sure you have, of course, blankets and extra blankets and the animals are taken care of. But I believe we're going to see record numbers this year, Anthony, dealing with the snow. And I believe it's going to come early. Normally, I don't get snow here until the middle of November. But this time, I think we're going to see it towards the first week of October, a month ahead of time. And it's basically my view on that. We're going to see snow over in Europe. It's going to be record breaking. We have a lot of subscribers over there in Europe, but also throughout the world, Anthony. And so we should be prepared to look at this as extreme weather conditions and be prepared for it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And one of the things that we also need to look at, as you were talking about the high snowfall rates, is you have to imagine, we've seen these, what they're calling anyway, 1,000-year floods. We've seen 4, maybe 5 of them here in the United States alone. And we know this is due to the atmospheric compression event. It's due to higher humidity levels. It's due to more energy, more evaporation had taken place in the atmosphere, and the clouds are taking on more than what they're supposed to. And this is just because our atmosphere is compressing. And this is also going to bring the jet streams a little closer to the ground, which is why we're seeing higher winds than normal. And so one of the things that we're going to be seeing this winter is we get a lot of mixing of cold and warmth. The winds are going to be picking up a lot more. We're going to see more wind events starting in the north and then moving into the south this fall for sure. And so that's one thing you're going to need to watch out for. With the compression rate, higher rates of snowfalls. It's been predicted that I have seen where some areas could actually pick up in one storm anywhere to 4 to 6 feet of snow. And, of course, you have a better chance to see it up north. But don't be surprised if somebody in the south just randomly gets hit with something like this. It would not surprise me at all. Some of you that live in those southern states, to get hit with a big snowfall like that, and Lord forbid, we get an ice storm that drops, 5-6 inches of just straight ice. And I'm not talking sleet. I'm talking like freezing rain event, which would be absolutely catastrophic if we saw something like that. But we're seeing higher precipitation rates in these storms that are coming through. And I think by now everybody across the United States has become aware of this, as it seems like almost every week somebody is picking up a massive amount. Just take Dallas for example. They picked up 3 months worth of rain that they would normally see in Houston. Houston, for example, picks up about 64 inches of rain a year. Dallas only picks up 32 inches of rain a year. And so you can kind of give you a comparison. And so you can kind of gauge just how much rain that was that came down. That was just in Dallas alone. And we're just talking about that because it just happened. And so it's fresh in everybody's minds. But we saw the same thing, like I said a few moments ago, in St. Louis. We saw the same thing in Kentucky, which killed a lot of people, unfortunately. We just saw the same thing in Utah as well. And so Las Vegas too, Brother Jim, I forgot, Las Vegas flooded out twice this summer as well. And so we've seen these atmospheric compression events, and that's going to transition into the winter time with the wind. The wind is going to be a big issue. One of the things that I wanted to kind of talk about here as we talk about the winter, especially for our viewers in Europe, is how because a lot of people are going to have a hard time dealing with the high cost of natural gas. We're going to have an issue with it here in the United States as well, but I don't think it's going to compare near as bad as what's happening in Europe, because you're looking at pipelines being shut down. You're looking at just the potential for weeks and days with no service completely, let alone the high high prices. And so, if somebody, Brother Jim, and I'm going to ask for your advice on this to the people that are watching from Europe tonight. The Europe culture, a lot of people live in the larger cities. They live in those high-rise apartments. That's kind of the culture of Europe and those areas. So, in your opinion, what could the people do if they're not able to have heating services? What are things that they can do in their home to stay warm?
Well, first of all, I read an article last week that 70,000 people in the UK is going to refuse to pay their utility bills. High heat is what they're experiencing now, but they know the winter is coming, and I think we're going to see some protesting in those countries. But as far as living in a complex like apartments and things like that, that's pretty difficult because they don't allow you to have burner on. Most of those type of apartments are electric. They don't have natural gas. If they do allow natural gas, they're definitely not going to allow you to burn propane, not in a confined space, because of the emissions that come out, and it could get people sick if it's not ventilized correctly. So they should be very cautious about that. If they're going to run the stove, the electric stove, well, there goes your increase in your utilities as well. So, that is a difficult situation because you have guidelines living in these type of apartments. The people that live in the rural areas, a lot of them, they cut firewood and, to offset the cost of natural gas. But it's going to be difficult. And I'm in touch with some subscribers that live in the UK, but also other parts of the world, Australia, New Zealand, and so forth. But we should be focusing on, how to stock up food now, because I believe you touched on a very good part, Anthony. We're going to see massive increase in food shortages. And if we're going to see here in America the breadbasket, we're going to see it over in Europe. So to the people in Europe, please stock as much food as possible. If you don't have places to store it, try to store it somewhere, because they may be weeks that you are not going to be able to go out. I believe we're going to see this winter in the UK and surrounding areas 3 to 4 feet of snow, just like we did last year. So be prepared, and also stock up on water in case there's a water main that may break or may become frozen, and then you're not going to have any water. So it's important to stock up on water and essentials. Food, water, way to keep warm, and basically be prepared, because these events coming, and they're coming here to America as well. Just like, you touched on Kentucky, they're still finding bodies in Kentucky, sadly. That was over a month ago. But we should be focusing on how to prepare, dare to prepare, think that these things can happen. Don't get overconfident. Oh, it's not going to happen to us. Well, how can you know? Are you in control of the jet stream? No, you're not. So I always have a rule: plan for the worst, and then if it doesn't happen, I'm still here, and I'm provisions. Plan for the worst, and then if it doesn't happen, then you're okay. And if it does happen, then you plan for the worst part of it. That's how I kind of see it, Anthony.
Okay. Yeah, that's good stuff there, and I'm just going to add on to it real quick, especially for our folks in Europe. But this is actually kind of good, really, for anybody. If you're facing a situation where you're not able to get heat, period, of course it's going to be uncomfortable and very difficult. But one of the things I would suggest, especially if you have a family, is take one room of the house, or one room of the apartment, bungalow, wherever you live, flat, whatever it's called. Take one room of it and take blankets and cover your windows. If you're able to, that will keep the drafts from coming in so much. Take all pillows, blankets, maybe some mattresses, whatever you need to do, and just put them in that one room. Make it fun for the kids. Let them bring their toys in. But just doing things like that will help stabilize the temperature in that one room from dropping to a level that could potentially give you hypothermia. Because your body heat, especially if there's a group of you, being in that room will, produce enough heat alone to keep the temperature from getting, to getting really, really bad. And so that would be one piece of advice I would give in that particular scenario. Be close together. Don't spread out. Cover your windows with blankets, doorway if you don't have a door. Even if you do have a door, I would suggest maybe putting something at the bottom of it, whatever, anything that could keep air from coming in and out, causing it to even get colder. You can do those things. And so that was about the only thing I personally would know to do on something like that. But we're definitely going to be in for a tough winter. And so, do you have anything else before we transition and take a look at some earthquakes, Brother Jim? Got anything else you want to add to our the winter or climate change, things like that, sir?
Yes, I would advise people to purchase over-the-counter products for prevent colds and flu-like symptoms, antibiotics if possible, but store up as much as you can, because if it does happen, for example, people in the UK, they're not going to be able to go get any over-the-counter medicine at all. So keep that in mind. To stock it up, have enough for your family, your children, some cough syrup, whatever you need. And now they're saying Advil shortages and aspirin and things like that for headaches, but all of that should be looked at with vitamin C. Is extremely important. A wonderful subscriber sent me 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C. God bless you, sister. And just eat healthy, be strong, but load up on that vitamin C. It's very important, Anthony. And anything over the counter that can help you with flu-like symptoms or anything like that. It's very important, because they're going to be stuck at home for a week or even more, actually, Anthony.
Yeah, that's a real good point. If you are on medications that you need, for health reasons as well, hopefully you have a doctor that will maybe allow you to have a 90-day prescription. A 90-day prescription will get you through majority of at least the worst part of winter. And so maybe you can ask your doctor to do that, and hopefully your insurance company will cover it. I know for me personally, my insurance does cover it, and my doctor does allow me to do that. So hopefully you guys are able to do that as well. And so, Brother Jim, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to put up a graph for everybody with the earthquakes. There we go. And so right now, what everyone is seeing, they're seeing the globe spinning, and we've got tons of indicators right now running all over the place. And so I'm going to highlight just a couple of the big ones that I see on here, and then I'm going to kind of let you take it from there on this subject. And so let me run through a few of these real quick. We have a lot of earthquakes taking place on the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. In the middle portions, we have several 4.5. We have several 5.4s, and then we had one today. And let's see if I can pull that up. And Mid-Atlantic Ridge, we had a 5.1 today as well. The Caribbean, very active. We have a lot of 3s and 2s. We have 4.5 that looks to have taken place right on the South America, right on South America, near the Caribbean areas. Central America loaded with mid fours. We've got the closure taking place between Alaska and Seattle. A lot of threes and twos in that area. We've got fives and mid fives taking place around Indonesia. We have a 6.2. Let me pull this one up for everyone to see. We have a 6.2 that took place in Indonesia as well, in the Palmer-Almar area. And so we have that one. We have a lot of mid-fours around Greece and Italy. We also have a 5.2 and a lot of fours that took place in the northern Mid-Atlantic ridge near Greenland. And I know that's an area that you're particularly interested in. And so, and of course, Hawaii had a 4.0 today around Mount Kilauea. And so a lot of different areas of activity around the globe. Of course, the entire ring of fire is completely active. And so I'm going to let you talk about this. And then as you go forward, I'm going to try to show everybody what's happening in those areas. Just to let everybody know, my program only shows things 10 days out. And so what Brother Jim may talk about maybe further than that 10-day area. And so just so if you may not see those indicators in that area, doesn't mean it didn't happen. It just means that my program isn't bringing it forward. So Brother Jim, I'm going to let you have at it on this.
Yes, the program I use, I can click on and it will take you to USGS, and they go back for 30 days. But what's been going on is the expansion of the Earth's crust and the tectonic plates is showing the adjustment of separation. And with the Atlantic ridge, the southern part of the Atlantic Ocean as well as the Pacific Ocean, those plates are starting to make the adjustment. I'm mostly concerned about what's happening with the plates on the Pacific and the Atlantic side. Yes, I'm concerned about the populated areas such as Chile, Argentina, Central America, Peru, Mexico, throughout the United States, Alaska, but also what's going on in Japan, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, New Zealand area, the Zipper. But when I'm looking at these earthquakes, the first thing I go to is what's happening with the tectonic plates underwater. And what's happening now, the island of Samoa reported a small tsunami. It's about 15 feet. There was no earthquakes offshore. And that was telling me that a plate has collapsed and caused the tsunami underwater. And now it came out today that the island of Samoa, they're expecting the volcano to. So it's happening all over. We're going to start seeing a lot more indications on the new Madrid fault line area. But also we're going to see increases like the San Andreas fault line that begins in the Baja Peninsula. About 4 weeks ago, they had a 6.3 off the southern tip of Baja. But when we start seeing these earthquakes go inside the Baja Peninsula in Mexico, heading into Mexicali, El Centro area, once we see a 6 right there, I'm major concerned about that area because I was told that will lead into a disaster going into Southern California, and it could start a massive 9.4 or a 10.4 earthquake that will start the process of separation of the Earth's crust along those mountain ranges of LA all the way down to the Baja Peninsula. And if that happens, Anthony, it will set off a chain of events up to the Cascade subduction zones. And I don't know if you're familiar, but Mount Shasta had a small vent that opened up about 5, 6 weeks ago. And we're going to see more and more like this. We're going to see some changes, Anthony. And I'm very concerned because right now we're at 39.35 degrees dealing with the magnetic north. And sometime in the last week of October, the first week of November, we're going to be 39.50. And that is where everything will change. Everything will change. I'm starting to see it now. And then, of course, 40-degree mark in April 2023. So I believe what's fixing to happen, Anthony, and the wonderful subscribers, keep your eye out for the last week or the mid of the month of October. We're going to see these earthquakes start going in from the 4s and the 5s. We already see them into the 6s, but we're going to see a lot more in the 7s and the 8s, and then we're going to witness multiple 9s coming up, and possibly 1 or 2 magnitude 10 by the end of the year, Anthony.
Yeah, that's one of the things too that I've noticed is we got a lot of pressure coming in, with all the CMEs and things that are coming in from the Earth, and so much is coming in, we don't have enough going out, and so we see a lot of pressure just kind of building up, especially what it appears to be along the Pacific Plate area. And so, even though we're seeing, and people are, they're seeing the graph right now, and I'm going to slow it down right here. The entire Pacific plate is lit up, but a lot of them is in the mid 4 range, 5 range. We haven't seen the really large earthquakes yet that you have normally have seen when these CMEs come in. They were the proton count, Brother Jim. I was watching it over the last few days as the protons were coming in. We were at a 3.5 range. It shot up all the way to 7 before dropping and then shooting up again. And normally when we see a high rise like that, somebody gets a 7 or an 8. That didn't happen this go around. Either it didn't happen or it wasn't reported, one of the two. But we didn't see that. So that tells me that the Earth took in a lot of pressure and it hasn't been released yet. And so that's very troublesome as well, because that means that when it does get released, it's going to be a big one. And we better hope that it's better for it to be on land than it is to be in the ocean, because if you get, say, we get an 8 or a 9 in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, you're talking about a significant tsunami event, or, Lord forbid, La Palma's waking up again. What if that chooses to release there? Well, that's a whole nother subject that we would be talking about there as well. And so, we when we read Matthew 24, Luke 21, we see that there will be earthquakes in diverse places. This has been going on for quite a few years now that we've been seeing this. Of course, the rate has picked up, the intensities are picking up. The consistency of it all is also picked up, and that's the difference between earthquakes today and what we may have seen 10, 20 years ago, is that the rates increase every single year. And so that's a sign of the times that we're living in and the things that are happening among the earth. And so, is there any other thing else you want to add in to those earthquakes before we transition on this?
Northeast of Greenland, about a month and a half ago, they had 18 new indications towards the magnetic north. And I was very concerned about it. I took some snapshots. Of course, I don't report on earthquakes anymore because my screen recorder's locked out. My map from Google Earth was completely wiped out. My computer was hacked into, and it turned itself on one night. But getting back to what I'm saying, there was also a 5.3, 5.4, just short the edge of that 67-mile volcano that's underwater, right there in the area of the magnetic north. And of course, you know what USGS is doing. They're downgrading every single one of them now. And they're not wanting us to know what is taking place. They don't. And they're trying to hide it as much as possible. I think what happened to me, I was going into the magnetic reversal process, and I did the video about, you know, the timelines, the understanding the magnetosphere crust displacement. I showed the images of the infrared images of the planetary system. So I think that's what got me. I was getting very close to the truth, but I did take snapshots of it, and I told people just a few weeks before my computer went down that I'm looking for this area of Greenland because the tectonic plate is almost at a 90-degree angle. And sure enough, all of those indications came up. They was anywhere between a 4.3, 4.5, 4.8, 5.0, 5.3, 5.5, 5.8 in those areas. And then other areas as well. So we're going to see more and more earthquakes. Not only the big ones, we're going to start seeing them in diverse places too, Anthony. And we should be focusing on that. You know, if people go back to my channel and look at the updates on the earthquakes, I have links where you can get free 3D computer simulations for free. You don't have to pay the $35, but it's there. And people should start, you know, doing their own homework, Anthony, because this is going to get serious on the West Coast and other parts of the world. That's just my opinion. And I'm very concerned that we're going to see more and more of these big earthquakes. You know, the 6.2 that happened in Indonesia, and then Tonga had a 5.2 on the Pacific and Arctic Ridge, which I'm looking at it. So people should invest a little money, or they can get the free program, Anthony.
Yeah, I agree with you that you know, this is something that people really should keep an eye on, especially if you live in those earthquake-prone areas, but really just anywhere, because you know, we're living in a time where earthquakes really can just pop up anywhere at any time. You know, because things are moving and things are shaking, and then you know, it's prophecy. It all comes back down to prophecy. And you know, one of the things too that I've noticed about earthquakes, when we talk about biblical prophecy, is that whenever God wants to do something among the earth, especially when it comes to warning people of things that are to come, He always uses a earthquake. God has always used earthquakes to symbolize a changing, a shifting, something new coming, a warning, something along those lines. And so when we read you know, in the last days about these massive earthquakes and things taking place, you know, every earthquake that happens, especially in diverse places, is a warning from, you know, from God of things that are about to come. And we really should pay attention, not just because of the actual event that's taking place, but we really should be paying attention from a spiritual perspective at the intensity, how often they're happening, and the increase that they're happening, and take note in our spirits that, you know what, God's warning us that there's certain things are about to happen, you know, that we're about to enter these new places that, you know, Revelations tells us and things like that. And so, you know, I agree with you. This is something that really should be looking into. And if you can't afford a program, there's tons of apps that you can download that will give you readings every day from all over the globe as well on earthquakes that are happening. You can even set alarms. If you're interested when fours or higher take place, it'll ring on your phone and all kinds of things like that. And so, yeah, it's a good advice there, Brother Jim. I'm going to transition off of earthquakes, and we're going to actually, we've made several references this evening to Matthew 24, Luke 21. And one of the things that those scriptures have to tell us, and even as you get into Revelations, and as we know, we go back in the Old Testament, the book of Daniel talks about this in the 3,000 days, 1,500 days realm, and Jeremiah talks about these things. Isaiah talks about these things. Ezekiel talks about these things, and that's the wars that would happen in the times that we're living in now. Matthew 24, Luke 21 talks about nation rising against nation, kingdom against kingdom. Of course, we know that nation doesn't necessarily mean a country, but it means ethnic groups. Kingdom versus kingdom is, country versus country. And we're seeing all of that. But right now, I want to kind of focus more, not so much on ethnic groups, but I want to focus on, the removal of peace from the land. We've got activity taking place in Russia, Taiwan, Israel. We've got threats of nuclear war, nuclear power plants, losing maintenance because of the conflict. Just today alone, and Brother Jim and I were talking about this just before we came on. We saw that Russian aircraft had invaded the sovereign airspace over South Korea. That happened today. We've got Iran that is getting ready to do one of their largest military drills using drones of new technology that's happening right now as we speak. We've got new air military drills taking place over in China, over the disputed areas of Taiwan Islands area. And so there's a lot of movements taking place. We see that Israel may be back in the fight here pretty soon with Hezbollah, as there's some activity taking place over there. A lot of, we have Russia that is building up their arms over there. They're doing it 7 days a week, all 3 shifts, building new weaponry, restocking ammo, things like that. And so we talked about earlier when we were talking about the winter, about all of our fuel being shipped over for these military things, and food's being sent over, which is why we're seeing a lot of these shortages and things like that. And so, Brother Jim, you often talk about peace being removed on your channel and in the video series that you have done with the precursor and things like that. And so, what's your thoughts on this as we are going through these things? What would you like to tell the viewers tonight?
Well, if you look at the biblical perspective, Anthony, we are getting towards the end. It's approximately analyze the prophecies, how much is being fulfilled and what's left. We're approximately 97% fulfilled. What we're waiting on now is the finishing of the biblical perspective in the book of Revelations. And I'm very concerned for the state of Israel. And the reason we're coming up on the Jewish calendar, Anthony, was September, the Jewish holidays, the Feast of Trumpets, Feast of Tabernacle, you name it, it's coming. And I believe we're going to witness something that's going to be addressed to Israel. And I'm concerned. I am, because in 1 hour, your world can turn upside down, Anthony. That's what's so good, that we're keeping up with it as much as possible. Sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and, I'm checking my notifications. And if something happens, it's going on Telegram. Okay. It goes up. I put everything as much as possible, what's happening with earth changes, but also, wars, rumors of war. And I was talking with Greg from New York Prepper, and he's coming to Telegram as well. And if you're out there, brother, God bless you. You're doing a great job trying to help people for these events. And we should be looking at it very, very closely every single day. That's why I try to put so much emphasis on prayers, Anthony. You know, you may have heard me say this before. You may go to sleep one night and you just may not wake up the next day. And we should not fear these events. These prophecies have to be fulfilled in order for us to go home. And Jesus told the apostles multiple times, do not fear these events. And we can't, because fear, you know, I studied psychology, worry leads into fear. And if you're going to go into fear, you're going to lose control over your reality. That's what's going to happen. That's what they want us to do. They want us to live our life in fear, and I refuse to do that. Christ said, what, Anthony? Live your day as one day at a time. You are not prepared. You know, you're not promised tomorrow. Excuse me. So what should we do? We should continue in prayer. We should be strong. We should enjoy those beautiful packages of love of your families, you know, and people that have grandchildren and your significant other. And don't get caught up in all of this. The only reason I'm putting that information on Telegram, just like you're doing, Anthony, God bless you, is so people would be aware to be prepared, not just physically, like you stated at the beginning, spiritually, Anthony. And, you know, I be out on the internet, China's going to invade Taiwan. It's highly possible. I was told it's going to be September. North Korea wants to get involved in the Ukraine with Russia. Russia, you know, what's fixing to happen, I was told it's all going to go down simultaneously, Anthony. And I got my eye on the prize, not on all of this war and rumors of war. So what is the eyes on the prize? Going home, Anthony, and being with our Redeemer, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And that's what I would like to comment on. I don't want to get into all this stuff. I can tell you this much. I was told from a very reliable source, this war is not what people think. It's not. It's about resources, Anthony, dealing with this planetary system. I was watching a video with Mike Adams, you know, with John Moore, and he's the same thing. I already knew it. This war is about resources. And look at what the climate change is doing throughout the whole world and the food shortages. Well, they're going to prepare and they're going to try to take it all over. Well, excuse me, you know, you got divine intervention, okay? And yeah, peace will be taken from the earth. That's the next prophecy waiting to be revealed in the book of Revelation. And then a rock is going to hit to warn the governments to stop it. And then what comes next? The persecution of Christians. The beast system, the digital currency, the great reset, the mark of the beast, the Antichrist. You know, when it came out back in 2017, September 23rd, I was in denial. I got my whole life. This is my retirement. Okay? I spent 4 months, 3 months I was in denial. And the evidence is there. If if the subscribers go to Earth Changes Channel, look on the playlist. It's called The Signs. It's a 6-part series. The evidence is there. Revelation 12. The moon was at her feet. She was clothed in the sun. Jupiter went into the womb of Virgo. Mercury, Venus, and Mars went into the constellation of Leo. Hello, that only happens every 7,000 years. Mercury going into, Jupiter going into the room of Virgo happens 3,000 to 5,000 years. And, you know, the moon's at her feet and she's clothed in the sun, and that's every year. So this seems to be the time that Apostle John was talking about in the book of Revelations. That's just my opinion. We should focus on eyes on the prize, going home, not on all of these things. Yes, we should be aware of these things. And when it comes up, you walk in your path of life, Anthony. This is how I see it. And when a event comes up, the Lord, thank you for allowing me to be aware of this. Move it to the left and keep walking your path. Turn around every now and then to look at it. And if something comes again, which it does every day now, just say, thank you, Lord. I'm going to move this to the left, and I'm going to continue my path. And turn around and keep your eye on it. Just keep your eye on it. Don't let it consume you, okay? Psychologically, it will. And I believe what the Lord was telling us is absolutely true. Look at the birds. They're not worried about tomorrow. What more are they than you? The Lord has given us, Jesus Christ has given us so much love and compassion and understanding. And we have to, continue in prayer every single day. That's what I put my emphasis on, Anthony, every day. But that's my opinion on wars and rumors of war. I don't like it. I don't. But I understand. That's why when I pray for patience, guidance, and understanding, I have patience, I have guidance, and I understand that these prophecies have to be fulfilled. That's it, Anthony. And, when the apostles asked him, what is the signs of your return? All these things must pass before I return. So we're going to be around for a little while longer. And we may be taken out early. I hope so, because I'm ready to go home, man. But we got to remain positive, brother, right? And we got to continue in prayer. And Matthew 24 sums it up right there. And God bless you for bringing that up. It's all through the Bible what we're witnessing right now. And Christ said, I will give you the signs in the heavens, the stars, the moon, and the sun, so we can prepare. And that's what we're doing. So, thank you, Anthony. I don't mean to be running on like that. That's my personal perspective, you ask, and that's how I see it. Is to continue in prayer and be strong, because soon it's time for us to go home.
Yeah, I agree with you, Brother Jim. I think the perspective that we all should have is to keep our eyes on the prize. You alluded to Matthew 24. When it says that we see all these things, look up, for our redemption draw near. That means Christ is coming soon, and that means that there's a change that's coming. And the change that's coming, is that there's going to be a new heaven, a new earth, a new kingdomship, and we're moving to that very quickly. What people don't realize, what governments don't realize, when people are putting these plans together, they don't realize that what they're actually doing. And I was telling our subscribers this the other day, they're actually manufacturing their own demise. That they're actually propelling us even closer to the return, and they're propelling us closer and faster to that 1,000-year reign that's coming, where the sheep will lay down next to the lion, where Jesus will rule from Jerusalem. This is we're approaching that point. All these things that you had just said moments ago, that all these things must take place, is because all these terrible things that we're going to be facing, from the wars to the signs in the heavens to earthquakes to all these changes. Everything that is taking place is in preparation, believe it or not, are in preparation for two things. One, for people to get their lives correct, to return to the Father, and for two, for the new rulership and kingship of Jesus Christ. That's where everything is going to. This is what's happening. And so, there is a season, and I believe we've entered that season, where God's going to allow all these things to take place upon the earth. But it's not so much to destroy mankind. It's not because God delights in watching us suffer, but it's because He wants hearts to turn to Him. Hey, oftentimes, if things are going good in your life, do you think about, turning over to God? Do you rely your dependence on God when things are going good? In the human nature, you don't. If you're spiritually mature, if you're a mature soul, you give thanks to God. But a lot of people, especially a lot of professing Christians, don't. And God understands the human nature. He understands how fickle we are. He understands what our mindsets are, and so He knows that if we're in the midst of trials and we're in the midst of tribulation, that's the moment that He can get us to turn to Him. And that's why these things take place. This is why these things are happening. And so in this time, we put our faith not so much in our preparations, although preparations is smart. We see, that in Proverbs it talks about being a prudent man, knowing when bad things are about to approach that you prepare for those things, and so you should. And if you know that your area could be prone to flooding, if you know your area is prone to a harsh winter, you need to make preparations for yourself and for your family and for your neighbors. Maybe you have some elderly people that live around you. You need to help take care of them. You need to make preparations and be ready for those things. But most importantly, you need to have your heart, you need to have your spirit ready and tuned, and you need to be saved. You need to make sure you have all your affairs in order. That way, should something happen, because like Brother Jim said, we're all one day away. You may go to sleep, and the next day you may not wake up. The next day or the next breath, you may be standing before the Lord giving an account for your life, and you need to make sure that your spirit and that your soul is ready for that moment, and that way you go through the gates of heaven and begin your time with the Lord. And so you don't want to miss that, because the opposite of that is really bad. There are people who don't do that. If you don't have your life right with God, there's another place, and it's hot, and there's gnashing of teeth, and there's a lot of different things that happen there. You don't want to go to that place, and it's not God's will that any should perish for before Him, but it's God's will that all come to a place of repentance, bowing your knee before heaven and confessing Him as Lord of your life. And so we aren't designed to be slaves to sin, but we are designed to be slaves of righteousness. And so, Brother Jim, I think we've pretty much hit a lot of these points tonight. And so before we get off of here, because our time is up, is there any last things you would like to add before we head out this evening?
Yes, Anthony. I just want to advise the people, please be very cautious about falling into that spiral, Anthony. It starts out just a little, will consume you psychologically, ladies and gentlemen. Do not take that path. Fall into that spiral. Do not. This is a time to be strong. This is not the time to fall down. This is not the time to go on a Christian spiritual diet either. We're being tested, and there will be a separation. Okay? That's the only thing I can tell you. And I'm on my path. You're on your path. We'll all have a different path. And people should understand that a huge compassion that the Heavenly Father has for everyone. Everyone. But it's all about your free will. It's all about you having a personal relationship with our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. That's what I want to tell you. Please be careful out there, and I love you all. Thank you, Brother Anthony. Thank you for all the work you and your wife and your organization does up there. And this is a time to be strong. I can't put enough emphasis on it. This thing could change very quickly. Okay? But God bless you all, and thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, Brother Jim, for coming on. And he's, Brother Jim's right. Don't get caught up in that spiral. And it kind of had me thinking for a quick second. There's a lot of traps out there that they're trying to lay before us, especially if you're a Christian conservative thinking. And be very vigilant of those traps. Don't get caught up in some of the political movements that are about to happen over the next few weeks and months as well, because it's designed to trap you. And we don't want to get caught in that spiral because it's going to take you in a place that you don't want to be. And so, very good point there, Brother Jim. Thank you very much for coming on this evening. It's always a pleasure to have you here with us. And we really appreciate the work that you do over at Earth Changes Channel. And just like Brother Jim alluded to just a few minutes ago, make sure you follow him over at Earth Changes Channel on Telegram. There's a lot of things that he puts over there and that we put over there as well here on Daily Excellence that we cannot broadcast or show here on YouTube because of various rules and guidelines and things like that that they have here on YouTube. And so we can't do that, but they are shown over here on Telegram. So you can follow Earth Changes Channel on Telegram at Earth Changes Channel or Earth Changes Chat. It's advised that you guys subscribe to both of them. Same thing with Daily Excellence. We have three channels: Daily Excellence News, Daily Excellence Chatroom, and we also have a prayer room that is available for you guys as well. And so good opportunities over there for you guys to get involved in things that are happening with us. And so, Brother Jim, thank you so much for coming on tonight. We look forward to doing this again soon.
Okay. Thank you, Anthony. Be safe. God bless.
God bless you. You too. Thank you, sir. And that's going to complete it for us tonight here on Daily Excellence. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the channel and for doing what you guys do best, and that's sharing our content, subscribing to the channel, giving those thumbs up. We appreciate every bit of work that you guys do. And so, hey, make sure that you check out all of our descriptions in the descriptions box below. Just to kind of remind everybody, we're on Oddsee. We are also on Rumble as well. You can also follow us on, it messed up on me here. You can follow us at various channels all over the place here. There's Oddsee. There we go. We're over on Brighteon as well. And we're coming soon to Mixlr. We're going to start doing some things over on Mixlr as well. You can also check us out on our website at DailyExcellence.org, where we have a lot of different news feeds from all conservative things over there. A lot of work has gone into that website there, so make sure you guys check us out there. We're also on Patreon. You can check us out on Patreon. If you would like to donate to the channel, you can do so through there, and you can also donate to us here on PayPal as well. And so with that being said, everyone, have a great evening. God bless you, and we will see you this weekend with the premieres from COT. See you guys later. Bye.